Thank you so much for staying with us. It's about time now for us to be able to go straight ahead now into the newspaper segment to feel the pulse of the nation as usual. And of course, I have with me Dr. Victor Ohai, who is a global affairs analyst who will be doing just that with me this morning. Good morning, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now let's go into the newspaper segment proper, and in no particular order, we'll be looking at the Nation newspaper. And on the front headline of the Nation newspaper, it says, Yewata, Akume, Yahaya, Sani rally north for Tinubu. And that you can find on page 5 of the Nation newspaper. Of course, we have the rider to that story, which says, Aliyu, region's elite to blame for woes. ACF, NEF seek more federal support for infrastructure development. Of course, we have on the top strip there where we say, First Lady's ROHI lift Benue attack victims with 1 billion naira. You can find details of that story on page 5. And of course, other stories there says, Transcorp Group raking 379.7 billion naira in first quarter. And of course, we have on the rider 4.06 billion naira for shareholders. FRS halts tax exemption to firms, NGOs in FTZ. You can find details of that story on page 7. Patient discharge as nurses join doctors strike in Lagos. Details on page 5. Of course, before we go into that story about patient and doctors strike, what do you have to say as regards the front headline stories, which says Yewata, Akume, Yahaya, Sani rally north for Tinubu? We're talking about 2027, I guess.
Obviously, yes, and we're not even halfway yet, but it's fine. What's happening is that, particularly for the governors, let me start with them before I talk about the North.
Yeah.
With the removal of subsidies, there's much more money to, if I use the word slush now, to share around. So the governors are obviously very happy with him. And in the North, Buhari's demise may actually be his gain. Sad to say, but I mean, and the reason being that he was the one singular factor that could have tilted things one way or another for him. They could have rallied around him, and if they're able to convince him, then but right now, there's no strong rallying force. So the people that have a voice now are the governors. Sani, obviously, in Kaduna is doing well. Akume is there to rally around the middle belt and the rest of them. So I think he stands favored as it were right now, unless things change. So they're doing everything that they can now to rally around, galvanize support for him, and don't forget as well that obviously they want to maintain the status quo.
Okay.
Like they say, the devil you know, if you like, say the angel you know is better than the one you don't.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now let's look at this top story quickly before we go to the next paper. Patients discharged as nurses join doctor strike in Lagos. So what's the issue about right now?
Not quite sure what the details are, but I know that the NMA as a body is going on strike. Or they've given a warning.
Yeah.
About the strike. And I think what is important for me and what should concern Nigerians right now is the fact that up till now, in spite of everything that is happening, our government has still not prioritized health. Health workers, no matter what you say about them, they're essential workers. There are people who, even if you have holidays, will always go to work. They have to, okay? And if you look at the brain drain, particularly in that sector, we must do everything, whatever it takes, to maintain them. But unfortunately, they have to go on strike every time to gain the attention of government. And a lot of our governments at the national and subnational level are not even taking them seriously because they have alternatives, because they can travel abroad for their medicals and all that. And that's got to stop. We must not allow it. I think if it's a place where there is shame, any governor where the health workers or teachers go on strike should bury their head in shame.
Yeah, to even add to what you said, if there's a way we could even legislate it into our laws to ban public office holders from having access to foreign healthcare outside the shores of this country, it would help to boost,
yes,
our healthcare
while I
system.
agree with you, who are the makers of the law? The people who make the law are the ones that are most guilty of it, so they won't do it.
Quite unfortunate.
Yes.
Now let's go into the next paper for today, which is the Punch newspaper. And on the front headline, still talking about power rotation, debate heats up as North reviews Tinubu's scorecard. You can find details of that story on page 2. And the rider underneath it says, Tinubu must complete 8 years, says Afenifere Middle Belt Forum. Opposition tackles APC zoning stand. So this brings us now to the issue of restructuring. So are we looking at power rotation to go to the south, or perhaps?
I mean, this is unwritten. It's not like, it may just be an understanding. I think that's the best word I can use. That, okay, if the North has it for so many years, then it's only fair that the South has it. So it's not in the Constitution. The opposition obviously have their plans, and this is probably led by the Atiku camp, if I may mention names here. But in the spirit of fairness, maybe that's what Nigeria needs, a situation where, just to, assuage all parties, that if power is in the South, it should be allowed to stay. And in saying that, I think they don't necessarily mean that the same person must be in government. But what it simply means is that even if there's a takeover, somebody else comes in, it's only fair that it remains in the South. But hear me, it's not in the Constitution. It's just an understanding, So for the sake of peace, if you like, So the opposition is against this, like I said, because of the candidate they're trying to, they're fielding. So, but we'll have to wait and see how it turns out.
All right, so while we talk about power rotation, the North is also splitting over, Tinubu's marginalization claim, as they say, which is on the very top strip on the left corner of the Punch. And of course, the rider says, President abandoned North, says ACF, Northern leaders impoverished region, Kaduna government. What's your take on that?
I think that they are being unreasonable, and I say so without any, this has always been their modus operandi. When Jonathan was there, it was the same thing. They have been marginalized. They'll get all the juicy apple. Nigeria is not about, and mind you, the North is no longer one North as it used to be.
But some persons are saying that for quite a while now, the North have been marginalized. They've not been well represented, especially in the presidential cabinet.
No, that's not right. First of all, cabinet positions are shared along both the regional, what do you call it now? The geopolitical zones and across the 36 states. It's constitutional. Every state must be. That's why I have so many ministries and, junior ministers and all that. You must share it among all the 36 states, including the federal capital. Okay? So the issue of marginalization now is like saying, you feel that all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Where is that? You want to have all the best, ministries, which is something they've been used to all this while. Heading NMPC, heading Ministry of Finance, heading Defense, heading all the juicy ministries. It's not made for anybody.
But
so when they don't find themselves as head of central bank, finance ministry, defense ministry, and some of these core, maybe Ministry of Works, then they say they are marginalized.
But do you think that this government has been very fair when it comes to,
Let me ask, was Buhari fair? Was Buhari fair? And no one talked. Buhari was outrightly, when you talk about nepotism and being, how do I put it now? Buhari was a man who did what he did. He never cared what anyone thought.
Well,
He never balanced
even
issues.
when he was asked at some point, he said these were people he
That
trusted.
he trusts,
Yes,
people
yes.
he trusts.
All right, now let's go into the other stories there. We say 20 trillion naira audit, Senate demands NNPC's response in 3 weeks. We've been talking about this issue of auditing. Why is it taking this long?
I hope that the new NNPC managing director does the right thing. He came to meet what was on ground. Sorry. But I hope that he would help Nigerians by unraveling what has happened in the past. But I fear and suspect that he may be held captive by some of the people within the system who have benefited. But if the president has given him a mandate, as I hope he has, to go in there and unravel what has been going on there, I hope he helps Nigerians by unraveling the mess. But unraveling the mess is not going to mess him up because he wasn't a part of it.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So,
right, so
let him take time,
okay,
and then do the needful to help Nigerians.
All right. I'm told we're pressed for time. We can't take more papers.
No kidding.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your analysis in final
thank
point
you.
as usual.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That's the much we'll be having to share with you on the newspaper review segment this morning. Of course, the program continues shortly after this time out. Please don't go nowhere.